Hello everybody. Today we are breaking down my newest song. Watch me. Let's get it. K-pop, watch me bubble. Yes, this is the song, and that's pretty much the gist of it, honestly. So what we're gonna do is just break down my newest original song that's now out on Spotify and all the platforms, and also on SoundCloud for free download. So get that now, it's awesome and cool. But I want to show you guys how I made this, and all the little tricks and secrets I did, starting with intro, build up, drop, and completion. So let's go ahead and get into this now. All right, so first off, intro, melodic intro. During the intro, this filter is being activated. So we're cutting out high frequencies and like slowly introducing them as the song progresses when it first starts. Awesome. So then the main thing we want to go over first are the melodics. So I'm using this sick loop. But when I started it, I started with the actual basses like these. So if we go and dig deep, like to so that's the first sub, and the sub is on D0. So basically the first note of the drop is a D note, which is the root note, and we're in the D minor scale. So that's what we're using. And basically all the notes that follow after are also D notes for the other basses. So yeah, we're in D minor. So basically when I picked my cool loop, it was in D. Now we also added another one. So this is a melody also in D minor. And if we look, it's in warped complex, just regular. So half of it, so if you see, this 8 bars is regular, but then this section is halftime. So I turn on this effect halftime. It starts getting a good 1 bar. So doing that cool effect. That's a section of this loop as well that I put in to kind of just come in. This is a melody I add. So basically I'm writing in D minor, so I'm just walking down the scale if you want to look at the scale here, so this starts at C, so I'm going C, B flat, A, then G, then back up to A. I'm just going down. And then all I do is just pitch these down 1 octave, and then they sound deeper than that. I usually do that during the breakdowns. And I layer it with like a mid bass sound, just to add more frequencies. Just fill it out. Alright, also, while the melody's playing, there's no sub frequencies, there's no bass. But I'm in D minor, so I know that if I write in the D minor scale, it'll be just fine. Basically made my own bass line. And what I used was a Reese bass, which is this. And the sub comes in as well. So if you hear this, Reese is slowly getting filtered in. Actually, it's not getting filtered in, it's just staying filtered out like this. And then what I'll do is automate this other section to be less filtered. So the intro is kind of like dark and, you know, and then we open it up, make it brighter. And if you look at the MIDI, it starts at the root note, D. Skipping a note, going up. Just walking up and then going back home. And then this section, at this little part, I cut out the Reese, just let the sub go, and bring it back in. So basically, when the chord, when it goes back home here, that's basically going perfect with that D and resolving. Alright, cool. Now let's get into the drums. So basically, when it starts, there's a kick. But this kick, remember, is filtered out because of the master. Can't hear all of it. Compared to that, when it's not, when the filter's not on. Cool. Sidechain is activated, so it is ducking all the other sounds. Alright, cool. And then we got a clap in the back. As you see, we're filtering this notch, so it's moving. Lots of movement with this clap. Filtering back down, cutting some of those frequencies. Just playing with that clap. It's really cool, adds a lot of nice movement. One of these hats. So basically, after this little intro section, this first 8 bars, then we get into like a beat. So as you see, it's just one kick to like introduce the song, but then I start making a beat. So then I just lay out a kick and then my snare. So the snare's on the 3. You see, just on the 3, 25-3. It's on all the 3s. That's normal. And a beat to have the snare on the 3. Add some extra rims. Just like extra percussion to add some more flow. Add some more snares to add that flow. They're basically on the offbeat. Then we start adding the hat. So basically I'm just adding the hat. They're like bouncing on quarter notes. Then I'll add little sections of like fills, little rolls. Then I'll add like, make them go a little bit faster, like eighth notes like this. And then we start adding like really fast kind of pitched hats. And as you see here, I call them right and left because I'm panning them to the right and left to fill out the stereo field. As the beat progresses, I start adding more sounds to make it go faster, and then the loop will just like basically end till we get to the breakdown. And then see, like right before the breakdown, I add this little fill section. Clap, clap, clap. And kick, kick, kick. So just layering cool sounds in the fills is so fun. So that's easy. And then right after that, it gets into the breakdown, which we will get into in 1.5 seconds. Just want to make sure we went over the sub. The sub MIDI is just so as you see, the sub MIDI is going to be different than this Reese MIDI. With the Reese, it's low end, and we can like move it up and move it more because the sound is able to go in those higher octave registers. But with just the regular sub, just the regular sine wave, we can't really go that high and without losing like the quality of the sub, the low sub, because we want to feel it. You know, we don't want to just hear it. So we stay low and we don't move them too much. So it's just D, go to the third, second, D, D, home, home. We go down to C and we just keep it in the registers that feel the best. And then for the Reese, we can do what sounds the best and move them up and do even cool glides if you want to. And if you look at the EQ on this Reese, we're cutting out all the sub frequencies so that the sub can live. And then we're cutting out some of these mids, some of these highs, carving out frequencies so that it can live with everything else. Add the sub. That's the home note D, go down to C. In the effects section, I added like this cool drone thing. It was G, I pitched it down -2 to tune it to scale. So if we're at G and we go down -2 semitones, that means we're going to F and F. And F is in the scale. And as long as it sounds good, you can move forward. But if it doesn't sound correct, then you'll want to pitch it to the root note, which is D. That's just an easy sub drop to introduce it and an impact. I usually do that when I start a song. We got this stuff. Rides. I just add lots of reverb to rides to add cool effect. So it's like a cool little intro section. Then we bring in the beat. Then we start breaking it down. One thing here is these vocals. So we have a delay here, you see, 3-3, 50, 50. That is giving it the cool delay. regular. Amazing. But when you combine this delay with compressors to make it loud, yo man to make it wide, reverb to make it sound like it's in a room, auto pan to make it also wide, and a huge reverb to make it sound like it's just washed out and going on forever, then it sounds like this. Look at these settings. So the first one is pitch down, -4. This one, pitch -1. So I'm just tuning them to one of the notes in the scale, one of these 7 notes, and then we're just making it sound nice. If you see here, it was nice and cool all loud at the beginning, but then I turned it down in this section. So I'm just mixing as I go, automating volume to mix throughout the song. You gotta make everything just fit nice together. Breakdown. Alright, so then we got a kick. We also have this cool stomp on the breakdown to add some cool effect. Also on this one too. Now whenever the breakdown starts, we want to start basically just bringing it down and starting to slowly build it up. So that's what we're doing. If you hear, there's a snare. So I just got like a snare loop and just started like cut it up and looped it, and then we use this filter to take out these highs, and then we'll slowly introduce the highs and filter it back up as the buildup progresses. With the build, we have snares, we have build loops, we have risers, we have percussion loops, and we have a kick that's also looping that I'll show you. Look at this loop. This just rides and claps. Got the risers, got the percussion loops, white noise. So that's part of the build. Usually these loops are like 8 bars like this. So it's always nice to combine different risers and build loops together and make your own loops as well. So if you see here, I'm looping this sub bass when it breaks down. This was C. I pitched it down -12 to make it sound even lower. We rise it up. The Reese is still going. And if you see, I changed the way the Reese is, so I just made it more simple, slowed the Reese down. Not a lot of fast movement. Staying really at home, just chilling around home. Now you can look at the kick. So, kick up here. We're looping the kick, obviously, with the sidechain. We have some triplet kicks right here. Pre-drop section, we got a kick. Big kick. Oh yeah, that's some good. Alright, but still got to show you some more stuff here. So, when it's building, we have these tom fills in the sections to introduce each new section. Remember, the melody is pitched down, Then we add this new melody. It's very minuscule, and if you see here, we messed with the transients on this mode. Bring this down to make it sound all transient-y. Without it, it's like... This is amazing. In Beats mode, do this. And then you can make new cool sounds. So basically in this breakdown, I wanted to make this minimal, so that's how I did it. Also, when this breaks down, we have these cool impacts. Yeah. Just throwing them in and turning them down, mixing them as needed. And then we have an FX here. It's tuned in D minor, so it works perfectly. In the background, just adding some atmosphere and tension. Cool. Starts to build, you hear this. Always have a riser. You know, I always have some white noise. And some extra build-up drums. These are being sidechained anyways with my other kick, so it's whatever. When you have all those, then you basically have almost everything you need. I tease the bass, like the bass patches with these. This is the pre-drop vocal, the volt. We got a stomp at the pre-drop. Oh, actually, this is not the pre-drop we used. I need to delete this one. The pre-drop that's being used is this. Let me layer it with the lower pitch down, -15, Complex Pro. We add some extra, like robotic sounds. And then fill out that pre-drop. And of course, this is coming from the vocal, the acapella that I chopped up, which is the vocal build, basically. So I basically got an acapella, I warped it, I found the BPM of the acapella, put it in this BPM section, and then warped it. We got the formants down, and we pitch it down to -3. And then we have first layer. And then we have another layer that's low pitch, -15. So we're layering those. This has the Easy Vox effects, auto pan, reverb, delay, been used a lot. As you see, the EQ's cutting out the lows. Auto filter not doing much. On this volume though, we're just turning it down to -9. If you listen to some of these, that's like regular. This one's pitched. So some of the main ones are pitched down. I'll start looking at like... So I'm just looping up little sections, putting it like in the fills. Building it up. Oh yeah. Now we're gonna get into the drop, which is honestly the coolest part. And we're gonna just minimize all this stuff. Alright, so we'll open up the mid basses and we'll also open up the sub. So remember I showed you the sub earlier? This is our D. So the first sub is like the downbeat sub. It's the easy sub dub. It's on my Patreon. This is Serum, you know, just a sine wave sub here, some noise, FX, some soft clip, mix 80, drive 69 naturally. Adding pedals, sub is on with, look at these settings here, saturator, pumping it, EQ8, notching it. And we got the Pro L on the vocal transpose, just press left one time, gains up a little, got a nice sub. So this is what starts it, and then the first downbeat bass is this. This is bass 2. Using Amber, FM from B, 61%, levels down. So we're using a lot of FM synthesis and moving it. This is like a growly bass to start it. Lots of movement. It's slow at 1/2 rate, and this filter is moving a lot. So usually when the drop starts, I like to add a nice growl to introduce it. And then we start adding like a little tiny fill section. Then we bring the main lead. Cool. So if we look at the mid basses, we have a tape stop here, which is stopping. So with that, this is with it off, on. So it turns on right here, and it's slowing down, turning off, and then turning back on slowly. And that's a cool effect to add to the groove. Cool, so this is the growl. Right after the growl, we have sun. So like a response. It's just like a regular bass, not much movement. It's slow, but it's more just like a stab. Lots of amber wavetable from the Live 10 being used. All right. So growl, response, and then we bring in the lead, which is the gun. So our gun is right. So this is the sub to the gun. And then if you see here, this sub is called subby. If we go to our mid basses, we go to the lead of 1000, which is naturally the lead that we're using right now. We're going to change the colors. And if you look here, there's no MIDI because we're routing it. So we're bringing in the signal from subby, turning it in. So now every time the MIDI plays here, it's going to play this sick patch right here. Watch the Akuma bass video to learn how to make this rack. And it sounds like this. And then we layer it. So I duplicated it. I made another one that sounds slightly different. And then we have 2. Now we can look at the sub, which is the MIDI. So basically, all we have to do is write MIDI in this section, and then you'll hear the sound for the sub and 2 basses. And then that's how I made the lead. And if you see, they're slightly off. They're not like perfectly on time either. Some are delayed more than others. But that's kind of the main thing. You don't want to be perfect on time all the time. It's nice to have your own rhythm and groove. We're not robots. So as you see, after every 8 bars, we just like kind of loop the growl and the response, and then add a new section. And that's how I'll start filling out the basses to the ground, and then we have new patterns each phrase. So now we can move on and listen to the drums. Easy kick, being sidechained, of course, just some glue compressor. It's a Myrte kick, and then we have this snare, which is some easy reverb, glue compressor, EQ, cutting out some lows. And a rhythm pattern. Also, we have this cool Amelia sample. It's going straight to the master. I have some amp on mono, making it loud on blues. Off. On. Little giggle. We have some little zaps. What is this? This is Mama, the sustain. So this is a sustain bass in the background. Sustain rig mod. I've shown this in previous videos. This is the Dripment sustain bass number 1. Corpus being used. Auto pan. Added some Yo-Man, so we have a lot of width on this one. And then all this EQ carving out so much frequencies. I'm automating the on and off. So it turns off. In this section, it's an octave lower, so this is D1. The other section was D2. So high sustain, low sustain in a different phrase. Also, when this next phrase starts, after the 16 bars, I mean the 8 bars, we have like a little chug. During the next phrase, we have a new chop down machine gun bass. But before that phrase starts, we have this break, which is like, which just basically a bass, just roaring at you, just rah, 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 lots of amp on here, lots of distortion, just to add like a cool fill. And that's, of course, right before the next important phrase, which we're going to add a lot more new sounds. So this is the our new bass. And as you see, so this machine gun, we're not going to be doing too much of. It's just going to go like... So this is the Noosphere bass that I made in my Noosphere video. It's a Dripment Thrasher lead using a square. Lots of really hard transient to make this sound. Short 1/4 rate. The delay is short. The reverb filter is doing a lot, 37 hertz. That reverb filter is very finicky, and that's what's bringing that crazy sound. This is a side. So that means I'm cutting out the middle signal and just first the sides. You combine that with your main signal to fill out the middle and the sides. Now half of the drop is done, we're on to the next half. So we added a new sustain. That's a different tone, just sounds slightly different. And we start changing up the rhythm of the basses. So first we add a new distorted sub. So this is the original sub. We have this is the one that comes next. I start playing around, going back and forth between each other. So we have the sustain playing, it's being automated on and off. We have little fills like this. of the machine gun, and we start changing the pattern. In this section, I start using silence and start breaking out silence so you can start hearing these hi-hats, for example. So let's find these hi-hats. Where are they? They must be. Yeah, it's MIDI. I thought it was audio. So I'm using the arpeggiator to make the hats. So usually it's just a regular hat, right? But if you add the arpeggiator at a triplet rate like 132, add some chorus to make it wide, glue compressor to make it loud, and a nice hat. So that's really cool. Then after, so that's 16 bars. The other is 16 bars. That's a full 32 bars for the drop. And then we conclude back to basically the intro melodics. But we slightly change the effects and the breakdowns, turn down the reeses and the subs, and make it a little different than the beginning section. You start building it up again, just like the intro, and then the drop would be slightly different than the original drop. Or you can make the second drop a lot different than the first drop. But that's really how you do it. That's how we make a full sound, a full song. We're doing it all. There are some drums. So I'd like tom fills, you know, in little fill sections. And then like for the vocals, you hear the come on. There's going to be cool chants and stuff. It's like these vocals. I had almond breaks like this. So in the fill sections, you want to keep cutting up the basses. You don't want the bass to be playing the whole time. You want to cut up some sections right at the end before the next section, so you can add cool fills, and you can add like almond breaks mixed with vocals. Go. So yeah, this is cool. Add cool vocal chants. So I want to go over just some of the groups so you can see the processing on the groups. The drums, just a shaper box. The melodics are just cutting the lows. The mid basses, we're cutting the lows as well, and boosting some of these highs right here. We have a JST clip to clip everything at 0 on the group for all the mid basses. The tape stop, of course, is on the group. And this glue compressor is off. For the sub, nothing's on it. For the vocals, we have a OTT on the vocals to make them a little louder. And that's just for, it's like the pre-drop. And everything else, like the FX, just has a little bit of low cut. The master, we have this Dripment master, which is just some glue compressor, a channel EQ, more high-end OTT, which is a preset I made. This FX is basically used for the buildup. So during the buildup, as you see, it turns on. We filter out some frequencies during the breakdown and during the beginning. This bass clef washout is used in the, just a washout right before the pre-drop. And then lastly, we have some ozone, which is adding some width to the master. to band 4 and band 3, which are these frequencies. This is how wide it is. And then I'm not using this loudness meter, I'm using this loudness meter. It's going -3, -2, so we're really loud and we're really good. So that's perfect. This is my newest song, Watch Me. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. It was awesome. Don't forget to get racks, projects, and presets in my Patreon. It's awesome. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for the support. Have a good night. Stay fresh. A peace out. A later. Woo!